Another episode of Getting There with Gaz. College basketball season is about to wrap up, but the basketball season is far from wrapping up. Hunter Stratton joining us, Zero Gravity Basketball. We're going to cover all those things. If you've maybe your first time learning about Zero Gravity Basketball, we're going to find out all about it. But we got to start at the beginning. We got to get to know you a little bit to find out about this journey and everything else. So Hunter, take us to the beginning. 7, 8 years old. What does Hunter want to be when he gets older? And is it that same dream you have when you're 18 years old?
Well, I think, you probably ask anyone when you start, what you dream about sometimes isn't where you end up, but, your dreams do end up coming true in a new way. I think for me, the biggest thing was always I wanted to be in sports. Basketball is my first passion. So, at one point it was, be a sports agent, obviously we all dream to go to the NBA, but we're all not Kevin Huerter. So, that's obviously the first dream. But then, you start, and I tell people this all the time, there's sports, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, anything, there's so many avenues that you can go down. For instance, you're doing the podcast, you're on radio, all that stuff. For me, I'm putting on sporting events, you can be a referee, an official, all those things, anything really, front office. And I think that's the cool thing about sports. And I think it just comes from the passion and, just always wanted to stay involved in sports. And I loved it. And it's brought me here. I get to live sports every day.
Yeah, man. It's amazing to have that happen. So to get to that spot of getting to be involved in sports every single day, what happens when you're 18? Did you go to college? Did you get formal training? Did you get an internship? Take us through the first part where you're working in sports as a daily job in actual reality. What was step one?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think I have a way different past than anyone else. And I do love telling the story about how it all started, because actually when I was in high school, I was in a class, and it was pretty much like a senior project class where you have to, we take one project throughout the whole year. You study it. You don't really go to class. You just have that one project. You focus on it. You check in. And what I did is I ran a basketball team. And it was a lot of my friends. I was coaching kids that I was in high school with at the time, but they were younger. And, we just had a blast. It was a fun time. I loved it. At that point in my life, I really thought that I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to coach at the college level, whatever it may be. So that was kind of my path. And my high school coach at the time, he had just retired from his position. And I was 21 years old, and I applied for that position, and I didn't get it. So at that time, I was running basketball tournaments and running small tournaments, and I just realized I had a niche with it. And Zero Gravity ended up, buying my company out. And long story short, here we are now running tournaments all across the country. And it was pretty crazy how it all happened. It was wild. Yeah.
Wait a second. I got so many follow-ups from that one story. Let's start with the first part, just for those who aren't familiar. What high school is that you were 21 years old and were going for the head coaching job, for those who aren't familiar?
Yeah, so Mount Anthony High School. It's where I went to high school, played basketball. It's in Bennington, Vermont. A lot of people think it's a private school, but it is public. And I am very thankful, very, very thankful that I did not get the job. I probably would not be where I am now if I got that high school job.
Okay, so to clarify, the other thing, too, is that you mentioned you ran a basketball team. This is not NBA 2K. This is not NBA Live. This is a legit, real human beings playing basketball, but a younger youth league. So, there's not salary caps involved or contracts. You're talking about, teenagers or younger kids.
Yeah, we're talking about, 15 and 16-year-old friends of mine. It was very unique. So, when I started that, I was 18, they were 15 and 16. So it was just strange. It was fun, but it was strange. So each year as that gap starts to separate, I'm 18 coaching 15 and 16-year-olds. Then it becomes I'm 19 coaching 15-year-olds, 20 coaching 18-year-olds, 21 coaching 17-year-olds. So I coached for, I think it was 4 years. I coached a team. We would play in Zero Gravity tournaments. So that's what we would do. We'd travel, play in Zero Gravity tournaments. And while I was doing that, I was doing my own tournaments on the side. So I was putting on sporting events. I think I put on my first sporting event at my ex-girlfriend at the time now, at Hoosick Falls. Her dad was the high school coach there. So I put on my first tournament there, and I was 19 years old. And it worked. First year did 1. Next year did 3. And then I think my third year running it, I was, 21, 22 years old. We had 5 tournament circuit. It was in New York. Coach Carr, who's at Lansingburg now, he kind of was the one that got me started in New York. And it took having 100 teams a weekend. And Zero Gravity, just, they took notice. They saw that. They were at the time, they were becoming huge all over the country. And they're like, hey, what's the point? And, we need to both be running tournaments. We can partner, work together. And it's been, the best decision of my life for sure.
See, it's amazing how you tell the story because you've just had so many years pass by where you realize this is what you want to do. This is your passion and you've made it happen. But it is remarkable. And I think we have to go back to this, that you are 19 years old putting on an event. Like you say that casually, like that just happens. Man, you're 19. There's a part where you actually, and take us through this a little bit, where you as a teenager have to talk to decision makers. You have to go to the school or whoever's renting out the gym or whoever these teams are going to be involved. You have to be incredibly bold and basically a salesperson at a young age to convince somebody to have this happen. Now, you don't have to tell your secrets because I'm sure that's a part of that job that still exists now. But how did you do it when you were young to convince people, we got to make this happen? Tell as much as you can or as little as you want.
It's funny. I have no idea. So I tell people this all the time. When I started, it was a dumpster fire. It was just, the whole thing was just madness. It was, I'm a 19-year-old kid. At the point, I'm still kind of a little bit of a punk, so like, we're having problems with the parents are mad. How any business you're in, and someone comes to you with a problem. And I've learned this over the years, like, obviously you want to be, no matter what business it is, like good customer service, help out. When I first started, I was, throwing people under the bus. Like I'm not, I'm not helping you, yelling back and forth with parents. Like, and just every year it's for me, it was, and I think it's different for everyone else, like where like you go to college, you learn, you study sports management, and you have these systems and you go get an internship. I think the big thing for me, which made such a big difference, is I just went and got my feet wet. And I think you can say that for a lot of things. It's like, sometimes you just got to go out and do it. And I just learned on the fly, it's just like, sometimes you just got to go, try something. If it doesn't work out, revert, try something else, learn as you go. And really, I think the biggest thing probably was having good people in my corner, playing basketball growing up, like good coaches, good friends, building relationships. That's all what it's about. And this, like, building relationships with all sorts of people, like that's the biggest thing. I just had so many great people and they knew I was crazy. They're like, this is never going to work. I had so many people tell me it was never going to work. Even my family, and I don't fault them. Like they want me to, they want you to do certain things and do it a certain way. But sometimes you got to take a chance, and that's what we did, and it worked out.
I love that you brought up family because this is one of the first times in a podcast we've taped so far that a lot of people, whatever their fields may be, coaches, athletes, media members, and more, that part about family. And I don't want to speak for your family. Maybe you're different on this take, but I'll just speak from my personal experience. Mm-hmm. When we talk about families being nervous about your career path, it's not that they don't believe in you. Yeah. It's not that they don't think you can be successful. It's that your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, whoever may be the influential people in your lives, don't want you to fail because they want you to do something safe. They don't want you to put time and effort and passion into something that they know you're good at. And in the end, it didn't work out and they see you get disappointed. And that's I bring that up because I'm a parent now and I totally get it of why some people may want their kids to do something safe. Am I kind of going the same way where your parents were, where it wasn't so much about your ability or your passion, it was more about the fear of what might happen 5 years from when you start this adventure?
100%. My parents are so supportive of me and like everything I've done. It's like you said, it's one of those things. It's like, they get, and this as a parent, like, you're worried about, what's going to happen with your kid if like, there's one thing could really change the path of your life, one little thing. So I think that's all it is. Just like, hey, you got to be safe. You want to, get into a good path and a career path and all that. And and taking risks is hard. I mean, for anyone, like it could be like a brother, sister, like anytime someone that you really care about goes to take a risk, you're going to be concerned and you might have drawbacks like, hey, like you probably shouldn't do that. And I think that's what it was at first. And over time, I think like once your parents see the effort you're putting into it, how much it means to you, then they start to feel at ease. And it's not of, hey, I don't think you're going to succeed. It's just, okay, I feel better now. Like sometimes like you're just throwing all these ideas and they're like, oh, he's, it's not that they don't believe in you. It's just, there's a lot going on when you're younger. And like, I'm sure I didn't handle certain things the right way in the beginning. So that's also was probably a piece of it too,
Yes, it just stresses them out. It's nothing that you're doing wrong in the sense that you're not trying to get it right, but you're learning. And that's part of this whole journey, no matter whether it's, forming basketball camps, forming partnerships, starting a career path, whatever it might be, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, those things will happen early on in those moments, and they can make you better for the future, for sure. We've mentioned zero gravity a few times. I think we just have to kind of give a description for those people who might be hearing about you guys for the first time. You talked about the partnership that was formed from the camps and things that you were putting on with zero gravity basketball. For those who aren't familiar, kind of describe a little bit what zero gravity basketball was at that time when the partnership begins and what it kind of looks like now in 2021.
Yeah, so zero gravity basketball has been going now for, I think this is 9th or 10th year. Steve Gibbs and Greg Kristoff, they started it long time ago with just a few. There was actually Hoop Mountain, which was way, way back, probably even way before you were here in the Albany area. And it was mostly just camps, like showcases for players. And then Steve and Greg kind of turned the corner and started running tournaments. So youth tournaments, I think they saw a void, like where back in the day, like all the basketball tournaments were only for the high level teams. So like all you had was just the City Rocks, the Nike teams, like they were the only ones that were able to play. Like if you were like a 16-year-old, varsity starter on a random school, like there's probably a good chance that you weren't able to play in the spring. So what they did is kind of started, this mindset of like, let's get an opportunity for like all these kids to play on that same stage, like where little Johnny can play on the same court as Kevin Herter, and that's kind of where it started. And it took off. And at the same time, having big events, which they did have. And I think, it was 3 years in, they were just like full board, like hiring people. Even when I got there, when they offered me, I had no idea what that world was like. I mean, no idea. Like I grinded when I first started, but I mean, when I got there, I was working 80, 90-hour weeks. Like it was, and we had 10 people in the office. And I had no idea, I thought it was just going to be me, Greg, and Steve, and we were going to be running tournaments all over the country and all that stuff. And it's a crazy world. Like a lot of people don't really understand what we do on a day-to-day basis. They think we're just like going in, showing up at the tournament, like, and running it, and it's all good. But now, to this point, to your question, like now we're in 40 states. There's over 200 events this year. Adidas events, Under Armour events, junior NBA, like just anything you could really think of. There's a lot going on. So it's exciting, especially the time we're in now, like able to get through COVID and basketball's coming back. So there's a lot of good stuff going on right now.
Whether you live in, I don't know, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Utica, Watertown, if you might be listening there, you mentioned City Rocks, like AAU teams that are popular. Let's say, like, we'll use my high school for an example in Central New York. Like, let's say Salve High School to Class B Level 1 to play, I don't know, Skinny Atlas High School in Class B, and they put on a tournament. Zero gravity basketball is not just AAU now. It is regular high schools and sections across New York State can just form their own tournament and be a zero gravity basketball tournament?
Yeah, well, so sorry, someone just ran into a trash can outside.
I kind of want to edit that out, but I kind of don't want to either. Like Hunter just came off like, you don't know what we deal with day to day, stuff like that. People running into trash cans in the middle of interviews. Yeah, like that's what zero gravity basketball deals with.
I was making sure it wasn't my car. I'm parked right out front. Well, that's something too, because I tell you, I've talked about this so many times. I want to write a book about all the encounters I've had in my lifetime with youth basketball. It is no one would understand unless you lived it. it's madness. But when it comes to the high school stuff, we never really did high school stuff, like some things. It's always been, like you said, the AAU, the City Rocks, those type of teams. And, for me, when I was in high school and I played in these high school events, when we played in big ones, it was so much fun. And I saw that no one was doing them anymore. And I'm like, this is something that this area would really thrive off of. And I think also similar areas like this, Albany, like I wouldn't say smaller markets, but, like Albany, like the Syracuses of the world, suburbs of Chicago, like different places where there's a lot of like really good talent, a lot of really good schools. Their fan base loves their sports, which, this area, they love their sports. So we wanted to, incorporate that and bring some, what we can do at the high school level is bring together, what we do on a tournament basis with like the social media, the national coverage, and get that for the high school kids, which they don't normally, I get it. There's nothing better than high school sports. Like you're playing in front of your crowd, but to get like the cameras there, rolling and just the atmosphere that we can bring. Like, I think it was really cool for the people that played it so far. And, it sucked that we couldn't do it this year, but, we're excited to get back to doing that. I would say that's my favorite event that I've ever done.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about all the great things that come of that. If you're a teenager playing basketball and you see yourself on one of your social media platforms, and if you're watching our visual side, just check the ticker to make sure you're following Zero Gravity on the social media platforms. And check out, by the way, our beautiful cuts from Saving Face Barbershop. Shout out to our guy, Jeremiah, taking care of both Hunter and I. We're both looking fresh on that visual side. YouTube channel, Getting There with Gaz, Godzilla Media, and more. Check that out. Again, if you're listening to our podcast version, just comment, say how good we both looked underneath. We don't mind any of that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like what I was getting at was that like Twitter and Instagram and everything else, it has to get you excited too, where maybe there's a player nobody's heard of before, and they shine at one of these zero gravity basketball tournaments, and not only do they become a standout maybe for their local high school, but then they start to get on the radars of colleges. And that's kind of a real pushing point for some, whether it be parents or athletes, is that you're surrounded at these events by college coaches looking for the next recruits to join the programs.
Yeah, no, I think that's the biggest thing, and especially now, like this year with like the whole recruiting calendar is all screwed up, and it's more important than ever, for whether it's, you're getting out there from highlight videos or you're getting out there from a live stream, or once we're back to normal and college coaches are in the gym, I think that's one big thing. And we've really taken it to the next level too recently. Like Jason Smith, who is our, one of our director of basketball operations at Zero Gravity, he's putting on this exposure league that is just like incredible. It's got, pretty much you break it down, you got the shoe sponsored teams, and then you have the independent. So you have like all the top independent teams that don't have sponsorships. We got all of them on this circuit with Jason. It's unbelievable. Like it's going to be in like Atlantic City, Spooky Nook. And then we're at Disney, literally at Walt Disney at ESPN Worldwide Sports. So it's going to be incredible. So he's doing that. And then we also have, so we kind of have like something for everyone. You got that. Then we got the all academic, which is like, it's the Yale, the Harvard. Like if you're high academic and you want, like, so we have this all academic showcase. They're all over the country. And these coaches from all these high academics, whether D3 or D1, all in the gym at the same time, literally with a list of kids that have like 3.8 GPAs or higher, and they're good at basketball. Like, and that's where you find like the Williams College, that's where you get the guys that are literally choosing between Williams College or to go to like Yale or Harvard to play like D1 or D3, because that's how good those schools are. And it's really cool. So we have that, and then you got the like little Johnny playing on the court next to Kevin Herter over there, like all that stuff. So it's really it's cool to to have that and have different things kind of for everyone, and also to have these huge events that like these kids can get seen. And like you said, like there's guys on court 3 at the Albany Capitol Center that maybe no one's ever seen before, and one coach is there, and it happens all the time. I've stories all the time of guys that no one knew about. Honestly, Jordan King at Sienna's, he's not there anymore, but he was a great example. Like he had no scholarships, and it just takes one. Zach Rads from Troy, just takes one coach sees you, your school's paid for 4 years. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's the most amazing part, I think, for you, again, holding those events, is that to hear those stories of we did something at Zero Gravity Basketball that improved somebody's life, an athlete's life, that it has completely changed from what it was before because they were a part of this event. And then now going forward, they're going to have the opportunity to showcase their skills at the next level. So you're based in Saratoga. And again, on the YouTube side, you can see some merch in the background and everything else. So you're based in Toga, and then you're going to travel to each event. How do you kind of decide on your role with these events? And do you enjoy it still? Because I'm sure it's just as stressful as it is fun going to these events because it is work for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is stressful. It really is, but it's so much fun. I mean, we get to be in the gym. We get to watch basketball. You know, I get to talk to people that have the same interests as me. So, like, I love it, and I really do. You know, it's tough because I run, you know, our upstate New York events and our Midwest events. So, like, on any given weekend, I could have, and this goes for our whole company. You know, we have, like, some weekends we'll have 15 tournaments per weekend, and we have 9 full-time people. So it's hard to figure out who's going where. So any given weekend, like I think this year, one weekend I have a tournament in Rochester, tournament in Albany, and tournament in Chicago. And I have Chicago back-to-back weekends. So I'm planning on going out to Chicago for a week, getting over to Rochester for a Sunday, and then having someone here in Albany run the tournament. So yeah, so it's funny. Like for us, it's like March until the end of June is just, you're straight through. Like there's no time to even have a thought come into your brain. You're just like going. So that part's tough, but like once you're in the gym and the event's going on, it's fun. But you know, it's tough trying to figure out where to go. You're like, you know, do I want to go here because these guys are there? Like but it's fun choosing where to go and just being in the gym and seeing new places is definitely a really cool thing.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've gone to places that I never imagined I would go to because of zero gravity.
Are they going to send you off to Australia soon? Are they going to send you off to like these different countries? Are you going to start recruiting zero gravity worldwide? Is that a goal? I had that for my 5 questions coming up. Like, how big can zero gravity be? So I guess we'll start 5 questions right now. How, like, countries? Are we going worldwide, Hunter?
I mean, if we're ever allowed to go out of the country, maybe. I don't know. The company in the last 2 years has grown immensely. Like, I mean, we're partners now with all sorts of different brands all over the country. So like we got West Coast Elite, which is in California. We have Bigfoot Hoops, which is like Midwest. We also have Prime Time. We have Indiana Elite, which is in Midwest. Like Basketball, which is another New England company. I'm trying to think what else. We have ESPN analysts, Paul Vincardi, like all sorts of guys are on our team that it's really getting stronger by the day. So I really think the possibilities are endless where we're at right now. We have, you know, a great team like Greg and Steve, like they've built like an empire. Jason Smith and Scott Geerling are the 2 guys that kind of run like the day-to-day stuff and they're unbelievable. Like Jason and Scott both were assistants at Arizona State under Hurley. So they've, you know, so actually it's funny because Scott came to zero gravity from Arizona State, and we got Jason the job at Arizona State. So we swapped them. And then after being an assistant college coach, Jason decided to come back to zero gravity. So that's how much he loved it. Yeah. So it's a pretty cool story.
That's insane to think that opportunities were given at other places. But he said, you know what? This is where I want to be going forward. This is the stuff I want to roll with.
Yeah.
Let's go to number 2 because we're talking a lot of basketball, and you and I talked a little bit before we actually got rolling here tonight, and I still don't believe this, so I need you to kind of refresh me or help me. Even though you're a basketball guy, your family has a dirt track history?
Oh, God, yeah.
What is going on here?
Oh, yeah. So my dad has been racing now, I want to say, and he just finished up, but he's in the 40s. So he's been racing, I think, now 43 years, I want to say.
Ooh.
This would have been 44. I don't know if he's going to race it all this year, maybe once or twice, but this would be his 44th year racing. I would say, don't quote me on that. I might get in trouble. But yeah, he's on, 44 years. He's top 15. So there's a track right down the street. It's called Albany Saratoga Speedway. He's, I think, 14th all time there in wins. He's definitely top 10 at Devil's Bowl Speedway, which is in Fairhaven. And now my brother's pretty much taken over the reins. It's really funny. So my dad, it's an expensive sport. It's an expensive hobby if you're not winning consistently. So if you had 2 cars, which we did have for a long time, it's a lot of money. So my dad decided to get out of it so my brother could kind of focus on that. but you could tell he wasn't ready to be done yet. So me and my brothers and sisters actually got together and we bought him a new car so he could come back. Yeah, and it was definitely, that was the best moment in my life so far. Like I haven't had a kid yet, so I can't surpass that. But that was by far my favorite. Dirt racing is very big in our family. Every Friday night we're down in Malta. You got to come out. We're bringing you out.
I'm in. I've never done it before. Like just hearing like how excited you're getting about it, I want to be a part of this. So yeah, you convince me. You got my number. You got me on social media. Hit me up and we'll film it if we want to go to my first dirt track. I'm going to find out.
We're bringing you. It's going to be a good time. We'll have some drinks. It's not your Saratoga horse track. I can tell you that. There's just as many horses, but it's a little dirtier. But not bad. It's a really good time. It's a lot of fun. And, it's becoming one of those things now where, like, the media coverage of it's getting really big. Like, they just had the Bristol dirt race, and really that's a lot to do with, like, how big dirt racing has become with, like, live streams and just the whole media coverage of it. Like, actually, two guys that my dad and brother race with on a regular basis were in the NASCAR race, at Bristol because of how good they are in dirt. They got a chance to race in the NASCAR race because people thought they could, compete. Which is really,
I just can't out of my mind right now, like realizing your dad's racing background and your brother and the connection to the family and everything else. I just have this like thought of you and your brother playing Mario Kart and your dad yelling at you like, "That's not what you're supposed to do, kid." Like, did it ever happen? Like, is your dad judging you? Like, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto video games? Like, no, that's not how you drive. I couldn't imagine even being in a car with the guy ever, whether it be virtual or real.
it's my dad's like so chill. Like when he's driving, he's just like, you don't need to go fast on the road. You go fast at the racetrack. He's just chilling, driving along. My brother's a little more critical about my driving. He's very on me because like I hate driving in the snow. I will admit it. I'm not a big snow. Even growing up around here, I've always been terrible with snow. So it always gives me crap. But they're both. My brother's. He's on like his 12th year. He's a beast. This is a big year for him. We just bought a brand new motor. It's called a big block. It's a very it's a very important piece, obviously, of a race car. So. We're expecting a big year from him this year, so we're really excited about it.
Early in the podcast, you mentioned some of your back and forth with parents, a 19-year-old version of you. You don't obviously have to say any specific parent, but are you better with them? Are they better? Are they the worst? Do you have horror stories? How would you describe that AAU zero gravity basketball setting with passionate parents of the players?
Can I I'm gonna give. I think I'm gonna give some names. No, I'm just kidding. It's I think it's just like one of those things where people are so passionate about the sport and their kids, and like sometimes it gets out of hand. I think a lot of people realize after that they've gotten out of hand, but then I think there's also some people that kind of just like have no conscience of what's going on around them, and they're just like losing their mind, just like any sports. You deal with it all the time. Like you're getting comments on Twitter, and like there's just some people that are just delusional, and sometimes you can't say anything to them, so there's nothing really you can do with it. But I've met a lot of great parents, a lot of like people that just really care about the sport, want to help their kids, trying to give them more opportunities. So the good outweighs the bad for sure. There's so many great parents that come to our events, and it's it's nice to see that they're so committed. Some people don't even have parents that are able to come to their events. So to have the ones that really care and are into it, obviously, is better than not having anything at all.
Also, earlier on, you mentioned that some of these events, you may have sponsorships. You may have a team that's playing for a certain apparel company. You may have independent teams. I'm extremely fascinated by this, and I don't know where you stand, and maybe you don't want to give up too much information about what you're learning right now, but we're taping this in April of 2021. And at some point in the future, name, image, and likeness may have an effect on the college game. What's your take overall on what may be in store for college athletics, and how, if at all, do you feel like it's going to affect your business at Zero Gravity Basketball?
Well, it's such a dynamic question. Like, I'm sure I know you've gone back and forth with this with people all the time. It's, it's one of those things where it's like taking the next step is like, what's going to change? It's going to affect so many different things. Like it trickles down to like, what's fair, for the players that are bringing in all this money, what's fair for the teams that are going to get chopped off at the feet with, the money that normally goes to them from sports like football and basketball that make so much. And now, they usually use that money for other sports. There's a lot of variables. So it's really hard to, really dive into it. But like there's a company called Overtime. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but Overtime is like a really big sports media company that does like youth sports. Like it's like, mostly high school and stuff like that. It's they're equivalent to Slam magazine. It's like the same thing, but with youth sports. And they're doing a high school basketball league that pays $100,000 minimum. So it's going to be all the top players. So
wait, 100,000 to who? The actual players, the teams, the schools,
high school players. Yeah. Yep. So
man.
Yeah. So you're talking, and no one really knows the full details yet, but you're talking most high school kids, if their parents allow them, they're going to jump on that opportunity, and then they're ineligible for college basketball. So the next couple of years are going to there's going to be some changes, like is the NCAA going to adapt? Is it going to, I don't know. Like I'm curious to see what happens here in the next couple of years you see it, the transfer portal is crazy. And like, how do you get that under control? So
it's a lot, and I'm a huge fan of what could be on the way. I know that's just like a very blanket statement by me, but just for reference for some people, look, there's sponsors on this podcast that they support. So it'd be very hypercritical of somebody like me who says like athletes in college should not be able to benefit off their likeness and image. And don't forget it's Gaz here for Graphtex. Like the hypocrisy of me trying to say I shouldn't support that would be too like almost hilarious at that point. So like how I benefit is through my likeness and image financially. So of course I would want someone else to do that, to benefit like that going forward. You and I could spend like 3 hours on that topic. So I'll just move on to the final question.
I agree.
Go ahead. Yeah, you agree? That's a good answer. All right, final question here. Best advice to get where you are. If there's somebody listening now who's a sports fan, whether they're a sports media, thinking about getting that path, sports agent, running basketball tournaments, there's so many different things, as you touched on earlier as well, about how to get where you are. What's the best advice to do what Hunter Stratton's doing right now?
That is such a tough loaded question, but I think I can give a decent answer at least. I would say the best advice is to just go for it, attack your dreams. Like if you're passionate about something, really go after it and don't let anyone hold you back. I think the biggest problem we have right now is so many, social media is so big. Everyone knows everything you're doing, and really a lot of people want to crush your dreams or not, they don't want to see you succeed or do certain things or really like, go out of the bubble that you're supposed to be in. So, I think the biggest advice I give someone is not to listen to outside sources, just do what you want to do. If you are passionate about something, you love something, I think you just need to go after it. And if you have to make big sacrifices, like make big sacrifices, because like there's times where, I've had to do it. I know you've had to do it, and it's just part of it. Like if you really want to get to where you want to be, you got to make sacrifices and go after what you love.
To learn more about Zero Gravity Basketball, make sure to visit their website, zerogravitybasketball.com. Again, zerogravitybasketball.com, and follow them on social media, Twitter, Instagram at zerogravitybb. I feel like we've covered everything and anything. Did I miss anything? One other thing you want to plug for Zero Gravity Basketball or to talk about? Something I missed that was big? If not, I will let you enjoy the rest of your weekend and in the NCAA tournament and everything else.
Yeah, no, I think we got it. The season's coming up, like so many things going on. We're going to be at the Albany Capital Center and Afram Sports like 6 days a week. We got a Dynasty League, which is going throughout the week. Like high school teams can play in it. Then we got our tournaments on the weekend. So we just want everyone to know that like it's happening. Basketball is here. Like it's not a joke anymore. I feel like we got some people's hopes up last year, and then we had to crush them. But we're here. Basketball is ready to go. Protocols are in place. And then, the local schools out, we had high school teams reach out, which is cool. And, get some of them to get some games after a shortened season, and it should be exciting.
Hunter, appreciate the time as always, man. Best of luck with the upcoming games, the season, and everything else. We'll be talking again soon, and keep up the great work over at Zero Gravity Basketball.
No, you too. I appreciate you having me on, man. I love watching the show, so thank you.
Thank you, and I'll see you in the chair over at Saving Face Barbershop very soon.
All right. Jeremiah.
All right. Yeah.